This is Too Long for a Voice Note, a podcast about everything and nothing at the same time. Presented by Claire
and Enzo. Our podcast is produced in London. Some conversations are just too long for a voice note.
Hi, she's Claire.
And he's Enzo.
And this is Too Long for a Voice Note.
Hello!
Hello, everyone.
Welcome
to a new episode.
Here we are.
How are you, Claire?
I am all good, thank you, Enzo. How are you?
I am all good.
Good. So we have a couple of announcements before we just get into our episode.
Announcements. We should put like a yellow thingy, like announcement. Yeah.
So this is actually going to be our last episode of the season.
Of the season, like forever.
Not of all time.
Just a season.
We are actually going to be doing a rebrand. So we need a little bit of time.
We're going to change Claire for a new person.
Good luck to you with that. Yes, we're going to be changing all the graphics and everything. We'll have
so
should we reveal everything? Maybe we shouldn't reveal everything that we're doing.
We shouldn't reveal everything we're doing. It's true. Let's keep some stuff for ourselves.
Exactly.
But yeah, it's very. I think it's exciting times coming. Yes. Yeah, it's cool. We're doing a few little changes here and there. Or maybe big changes. Yeah. You know that. But yeah, so this is the last episode of
this season.
And we're gonna go back around September,
yeah,
right?
We'll be back in September, but we're going to be active on all of our social media platforms.
So you're not getting rid of us, basically.
Exactly. So we're on Instagram, TikTok, Twitter, Facebook, YouTube, obviously, all the streaming platforms. So you can find us literally everywhere.
So how was your weekend, Claire? We spent the whole weekend together.
Actually, it was literally the whole weekend.
Let me leave. Let me have my space.
Yeah, we had a Pride. Well, Enzo hosted a Pride party.
Yeah,
very nice.
It was nice.
Pride. It was really nice.
It was nice. Yeah. Earlier that day, I went to
we didn't actually talk about that. How was that?
Yeah, it's true. It was really, really cool. I went to the actually Pride event here in London, which is like a huge event. I think this year they were estimating more than 1.5 million people attending the Pride event. I spent like 2 or 3 hours. I get like around Soho. I didn't went to the main parade because it's always very messy, and I actually wanted to take photos and nice portraits of people and like capturing like looks and like the vibe of how people were feeling and the energy. And I think the main parade thing is a bit too messy, so I wanted to be a bit out of way from it because I already took photos of it in the past. So in the middle of Soho and like just kind of like walking through everyone, it was like super cool. Like I don't know, it's always cool to see. Made me think a lot about like how lucky I am living in a city like this, like London, because everyone was like wearing whatever they want, expressing themselves. It's all about expressing yourself the way if you feel it's right for you. And I think that's the point of it, and it's beautiful to see.
It's true. Don't you think that when you go to other places, I always think that that we're so lucky in London, because honestly, I do feel. I mean, please do comment if you think there's anywhere else in the world that does this, maybe like New York, for example. But like, I do feel in London you can literally wear whatever you want and no one cares.
No one will care.
I would say. Yeah. I feel honestly, that's not the case in other capital cities.
Honestly, yeah. Obviously, it's a lot of like still work to do, and obviously there's some like hate crimes around still, blah blah blah. But in comparison, if you think the positive side of it, it's like huge. Like. How, as you say, like people can be whoever they want to be, whatever is good for you, and like, and the wearing part, because I think it's interesting how, whatever you wear, how you express yourself, it's basically, your identity is so like a liberating act at the end of the day. So, it was beautiful to see. It was really, really fun. Everyone was dancing on the streets. There was a lot of like, also activism in the middle, like, signs and things with messages, like I thought were really important. So it was really cool. It's my week. Yeah, right? It's my week. So
time for
Enzo's secret topic of the week.
I feel kind of privileged that my topic is the one closing the season.
Oh,
we have to make sure that you're like, oh, bitch.
We just did it because in full transparency, I literally couldn't think of a topic. I was just
so
creatively dry.
It happens, honestly. It happens even to us.
Yeah, exactly. I was like,
even to
what to talk about.
So we need to make sure that when we open the new season, it has to be your topic.
Yeah, we will.
For balance
and
equality. I want to discuss about life purpose.
Oh,
and the meaning of life.
What a nice way to end the season. And
very existential and intense.
It's actually interesting that you said this because I was actually thinking about this today.
I want the purpose of your life. You were like, I was having lunch and I was crying and I was thinking, what's the meaning of my life?
But I'll let you do your whole bit and then I'll explain.
It's good that you're thinking about it so we can just actually have back and forward.
Exactly, yeah.
But anyway, like, I think this is a topic, I think, we've discussed about this topic a few times, but I think this has been around my mind for a period of time. Maybe when I entered my 30s, it intensified a bit. I think it's normal when you get into like a certain time of your life, you start thinking more about your life and your purpose, what you do and why you're doing, etc. Funny enough, in that period as a background of this, and you know the story, I will share just a bit because it's a bit personal, the drama, it's a bit personal. But back in the day when I was thinking about this, I have like a consultation with a shaman. And actually the shaman told me like the moment I found, without me telling anything about this, it was just part of the whole consultation of the whole thing. He told me like, oh, it's important for you to find purpose in your life. Once you find your purpose, you will have a fulfilled life. So you will feel like complete, but you need to find the purpose. And which is very, it could be very like, a broad terminology, but it was something that he mentioned like, oh, so and your purpose is regarding to like charity and helping others in any way, which is interesting because it's something I wanted to do for a really long time. So I think all the messages were very like clicking at the time, right? So I found it really, really interesting. And then always, I think I was saying before, after when I turned 30s and when the time passes, I think more and more about that, like, like what's the meaning of life? What's your purpose in life, or your particular life, especially? So before me going more into this, yes, what do you think about that? Like overall about life purpose, or like, what do you think maybe what's for you life purpose? Like what entitles that?
I think that our life purpose is definitely something that like comes to us and changes throughout our life. I think that's something that I've definitely felt. I don't know if you felt that as well, but I think it's, and I agree that I think the older you get, I think the more you think about that, definitely going into my 30s as well, I think that you kind of consider that a little bit more. But I think that it's very, very important for us all to kind of understand the life purpose. But I actually think that like maybe some people don't have a life purpose, or sometimes it's not as important to other people as other people. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, to kind of point it out what's their life purpose.
Because I do think it's kind of like a personality thing that I think you have, that it's very important to understand your life purpose. But I think I don't know, but I would imagine some people are just happy existing. And I don't mean that in like a bad way. It just is. So it's interesting that like that came up for you, I think.
I think sometimes like it depends of like that's why it's important to talk or experience life or do different things, because I think doing other things, it may help you to find that, or make something may click to be like, oh, this may be my purpose. It was something interesting like I was reading today. I was maybe quote some because this is very like, as it's very like philosophical and maybe sometimes get to like self-help, and it's like a topic that is very like broad, and it's not like there's no answers for this. So I may quote a few things that I saw online, but just from everything that I read before filming the episode, something that I found interesting and what a lot of people say is like, actually, most of times the people, when they find purpose of the meaning of something, is helping others. And they say like this is a constant thing, like helping others, giving something to others, or like doing a good act for someone else. That's actually what makes you feel that you are fulfilled in your purpose of life. And coming from what you said, some like like writers or like philosophers or psychologists, they say like actually like it's really, really, really key to have a purpose in life. And all, because some people believe that their job is a purpose in life, but this is actually not true in most of cases. Like, because work most of times is just something that we do to fit in society and to have the money to live, or the money to do things. But it's kind of like what we do with all of that. And it's kind of interesting them saying like, in most of cases, work is not the purpose of your life. No. And a lot of people that just like say, they just kind of like, I don't know if it's like they hide, it's not hide behind that, but maybe it's easier to just think that's my purpose and just base your life on that, which is fun, kind of interesting.
Maybe. I think I was thinking about a couple of things. The first thing that I was thinking about was actually a book, which I don't know if I've lent it to you ever over the years, but it's called Man's Search for Meaning, and it's by Viktor Frankl. So Viktor Frankl was in the Holocaust. He was Jewish and left in a concentration camp, basically. Yeah. And he was actually a therapist before he was taken in. Yeah. And he survived, and he noticed that people that did well or survived who didn't die.
I read that book. I did read it.
Right?
Yeah, I read it. Yeah.
It's really.
It's funny whenever I talk about this.
Yeah, that's crazy. I
read
it
because my brother told me to read it.
I'm not surprised. It's very philosophical.
Yeah. That's how.
But basically, he noticed that the people that survived had a purpose and had a meaning to their life. So he actually developed this therapy from that, which is called logotherapy, and that therapy is based on everybody having a purpose in their life. So I think that's true. I mean, obviously we never have been, hopefully we never will be in a situation so horrific as that, but I think maybe when I felt the most depressed in my life is actually when I have felt, for example, when I gave up acting, I gave up acting and leapt into nothing. I just needed to make money, and I was so depressed because I had no meaning. And then I got happier again when I found my new purpose. And I think that also links me on to something about like creativity, because I think that's kind of a different thing. But that's
it's interesting to explore like the different ways that the stuff can give us a meaning in life, because the truth is like we are not the same. And something I read on the internet, of course, if you are a doctor, that's clearly you're a type of person, you already have a purpose in life, because your purpose is to help others and you see the bigger picture of it. That's the purpose, and your main goal is always helps who needs help. But many of us that we don't have, maybe like we don't do things like that. Maybe it takes maybe longer to find what's your purpose. And then I was thinking like, but what if I don't feel my purpose is helping someone else, or like doing charity work or whatever. So it's kind of like that. I was reading about like what happens when it's not like that, just something given back maybe. So it's kind of like maybe find it's kind of like really like exploring yourself and find these things that actually make you feel like they're important for you. And like sometimes they go back to your childhood, and sometimes thinking about when you were a kid, what really matters for you, what really makes you feel happy, or like when you were younger, what do you think it was that? Because maybe that's like a route to find in your life now, like things that fulfill your purpose. And it's kind of like, obviously it's many ways, but the thing is like you can start in that route maybe to kind of find like what's something that gives you meaning.
So when you had your reading with the shaman, did you try doing anything that was like, have you found a way, or like anything like charitable, or that was like related to other people?
Actually, it's like I'm still kind of like, which is interesting because I feel like I know it, but I haven't done anything kind of like physical to like help, for example, in a charity. But what I've done, which I think is like the minimum I can do, is like I have like 3 charities that I have like a direct debit every month, and I send them like a little donation, you know. So it's kind of like I feel like, okay, well, right now this is like what I can do to give something back, which I think is something that it may be my objective in life. And funny enough, when we went to Bali, not to sound like the white guy that went on a trip to Bali and find a new meaning of life, but I don't know, there was like certain like dynamics and like energies and like way of living there that I find it made me think about a bit more about what I'm doing with my life and like the speed of my life, or this type of thing. So what kind of like what has meaning or not. And sometimes it's like, do rushing all the time in London, does that give me something that I think it will mean something to me, for example? And then I was like, honestly, when you are there and you see things that you are in such a privileged position, you see like, I don't know, we went to the beach, it was full of trash. And I was thinking like, wow, this is like a whole situation here. And like helping in that way maybe it kind of made me think about my purpose again.
Yeah.
And then after that I was like, okay, there's a charity in Bali that they're in charge in that, and they're really working on the rivers and blah blah blah. So I kind of helping them, donate them. So I kind of like, okay, that's a way to do it. And I'm thinking like, well, maybe one day I can go for a month and actually help. So maybe like, because I know also like I have a creative life and I like to be in a city and I want to do things. So it's kind of like find ways to kind of like find meaning, but in a realistic way for you, because for me it's not realistic right now to go to, I don't know, like the forest and like help
pick up
whatever, you know what I mean? There were some like, speaking about all of this, some quotes that I found interesting about the meaning of life and existence, and I was just like, I read it to you to see like what you feel about them. There's a very like nice one from Dostoevsky. I think that's how you pronounce it. He's a really famous author. He's Russian. Actually, I think my brother loves him. So he has this quote. He mentions like, the mystery of human existence lies not in just staying alive, but in finding something to live for. It's so like simple, but that's the thing. And that's something that I feel a lot that maybe happens in this era that we are, maybe, or maybe it's just because we have everything in front of our eyes, so it's more visible. But I think sometimes, as you mentioned before, some people seem to be happy to just being alive. But then it makes you think like, do you really come from whoever created us to this world to just staying alive and not do something that means more than just consume resources, contaminate back, and like blah blah blah, you know what I mean?
I think it's like
very existential though, but
it is existential, and I think it's also like I think a lot of people, and I think maybe like when you have a slightly when you have like a slightly like alternative lifestyle, which I would say we both do in different ways. Like, it sounds really pretentious. I don't mean it like, oh, it's an alternative, but like here we are with our like indie podcast in London.
Exactly.
But do you know what I mean? Like, you know, like in for whatever ways, like we're both not like married with like 2.5 kids and like a house in like the suburbs, for example. Like I think that a lot of people still probably like live their life like knowing that there are steps that certain of those steps I think we'd want to reach in different ways, but not in that very like this, then this, and this, and this way. I think
it's gonna, are those goals or is that purpose?
I think it's just like, I don't even know if it's either. Like it's just like a thing that maybe people don't question. A lot.
Can I have a very personal question for you?
Yeah, love.
Feel free to answer or not. But as I know you want to be a mom, and do you feel like maybe becoming a mom, it could be a purpose for your life? Do you think? Obviously, you don't know how you will feel because you're not a mom yet. But do you feel that could be something that give you purpose? Because, and I'm saying this because I feel like some people, when they have a kid, or their life purpose is to have a kid and to give this unconditional love to someone else, which is valid. I'm not saying like it's not. It's just like I find that sometimes is a purpose for some people. So I wonder if you ever think like that may be a purpose in your life, or a purpose, or the purpose. I don't know.
Definitely not. Definitely not. Like I definitely want to become a mum or a parent, but that's not the purpose of my life, and it never has been. I think that's kind of, I don't know, I feel there's something like weird and scary about putting the purpose in something outside of yourself.
Yes.
Like, your purpose in life is to get married. That's fucking terrifying. Do you know what I mean? Like, I think for me, like, I think my purpose has to be something that comes from me and something that I can kind of control, if that makes sense. So for me, being a parent is something that I really want, but that's not the reason that I'm on this earth at all. And like, I believe that you can give, I already feel that I give unconditional love to the people in my life. I'm not waiting for a baby for that. So I don't think, I don't know, I don't think that will change, you know? It's just like going to be like another person that I'm going to love. But it's not like, if I don't have a baby, like I really hope I do, but if I don't think that I will think, maybe I would, but I don't think that I would think that my life has been a waste.
I understand.
I don't think that.
That's quite interesting because I think it's the same website I was reading. It's called Happier Human. I think it's kind of like a blog. It comes from a book that I think is called Happier Human as well. And they mention like when people are looking for reasons to have a purpose, of maybe you cannot find them, or kind of like, because there's not a list of do these 5 things to find purpose. You know, it's obviously it's not as simple, but some of a path to is maybe focus on love and like giving back, as we were talking before, or like loving your friends, and kind of like these little activity are things that help to have a purpose. So maybe based on what you were saying, I think it was very interesting. Maybe like having a kid is not your purpose, but the way you love your kid, it will help you to find a purpose within that, if that makes sense. Because it's kind of like how you, I think because love and caring and give back is such like a human thing, and it fulfills your soul. I guess like you giving that to someone else, it will give you like a return back, I guess, you know, like
maybe,
like,
but I don't think, I don't know, because again, this is kind of going into like parenthood, but I don't, I think, like, don't get me wrong, again, fully saying this as somebody who fully wants like a child, and as somebody who's already spent thousands of pounds on hoping that I will have a child because I've frozen my eggs. So I do still think that being a parent in this day and age is super selfish. So I think that you need to really question why, and I think it's really, I think we said this on another episode, like the reason for being a parent really shouldn't be to get something back, or it's something I still debate with myself all the time of like why I want to be a parent. It shouldn't be because like you want to leave a piece of you when you die, because in reality you can leave like thousands of pieces of yourself in different ways when you die. That is not the only way to do it. So
like preach. You can leave 1,000 millions of people like yes with like a t-shirt. You can leave 1,000 pieces of yourself in your life. I love it. This is kind of connected actually what you were saying, because in Happier Human, the website I was quoting before, Happier Human it talks about like living your life voluntary or involuntary, which is kind of like just, it says if you choose the latter option, it will suggest that everything in your life happens without your conscious control, where you were going back to what you're saying, like you want to have, for your purpose, it's something you want to have control of it. So what's exactly what you were mentioning before. So if you go with the flow to the extent that you forget who you are, what are the things that matter to you, and what other things you are capable of doing. So it's kind of like when you're living like that, it's kind of like not finding purpose in something you can control. You kind of also get loose in the process, which is kind of interesting. It's like a way of seeing it. About this topic, I think it's such a, like, we can do many, I think, episodes about this because there's many ways to go. But I think it's kind of like interesting, like when people get to the, I don't know what to do with my life. And I think it's very like existential in this time we're living, especially because back in the day, we didn't have many options to see what we're going to do with our life. It was like, if you can, you go to school. If it's possible for you, you go to school, and then you will find someone, you're going to get married, have a kid and a house, and then die. And that was it, right? The purpose. Nowadays, we have many like places to look at and many options to like find purpose or the meaning of what we're doing, blah, 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 which we're very lucky and unlucky maybe sometimes, depending on how you see it. And nowadays we're at that because I think we need to really, and I think that's something that I think I'm becoming more aware of myself, and that's why I'm bringing this topic. It's kind of like really think about what things will make me feel like I have a purpose here. Which is could be whatever it could be, right? So
I think that the thing is, and that's, I think it's really good that you actually brought this topic up, because I think when you, especially somewhere like London, and I think maybe that's what you're describing of what you got in Bali in a way, it's like London is so fast paced, and I think we're so busy working out, working, seeing our friends, seeing our family, doing this, doing that. You don't have a lot of time to like take that step back and look at the bigger picture of like, is actually like off of this, like, I mean, it's classic, like the treadmill, you know, is this all giving me purpose? So I think again, it's that thing of like,
on it, definitely
really thinking about what how your life looks and like what's giving you purpose.
One thing regarding that, like obviously there's many ways to like find like a framework to all of this, or to like, let me see how can I find a meaning for your life, which is good and it's something that we should do if you don't feel you have it. But sometimes it's said like you don't need to have something that it's like you don't have to be Nelson Mandela, you don't need to say the word, but you need to find like what one direction of thing, or like want something and keep following it. Sometimes if it's a minimum thing, but if you keep following it and if you achieve it, or if you constantly achieve it, that will give you meaning. Because some things that give you meaning of life or make you find like a purpose are things that are always coming back. So it's not something that, it's not like my purpose is to wash this mug. I wash it and it's like, oh, I have no purpose anymore, I'm done. So you need to find something that actually also like, it's kind of like something cyclical maybe, or there's always there for you. And also talking about that, and I think about an example about this, like a Harvard University, or like Harvard University in case you don't know. It's like, what do you know? Like, okay, so they have some studies that suggest like those people that have purpose in their life, they remain healthy and strong as they grow older. Which I think as something with my grandfather, for example, he died 89 years old and he was very obviously has health issues like any person at 89, but he always had a purpose. And I'm always like, oh my God, I want to be like him, because he was always creating new recipes for food. He was always creating paintings. He was always creating new things. He was creating new forms of art, in his case, to find a purpose. And his purpose was like cooking to make his family happy, because our happiness make him feel better. And apart from that, he has his personal purpose, who were like artistic oriented or more creative oriented. He was there's not like one thing. And the good thing, he became good on something and he jumped to a new thing and he became good. And that was his life. Right? That was his life. And I can see like his spark when he was doing something new, he was showing to you, that's something like, wow, like, and this doesn't have to be like a painting. You don't have to be Picasso, like, well, like you don't have to be Madonna,
you don't even need to be creative.
You don't even need creative. It could be something really small. It could be even writing. It could be whatever you can do for yourself that you keep following, doing, and make you feel like when you do it, it gives you that thing.
Can I ask you, has your life purpose, can you like pinpoint a point when it's changed for you in your life?
Like the way I feel about what's my purpose, you say?
Yeah, or like, did you used to think it was one thing and now you think it's another thing, or no, or like...
well, honestly, since I am like, I don't know, 16, since I started like with photography, I always thought that my life purpose was like being a photographer, right? Which is something that it still is in a way, but obviously it has changed because, photography as well has changed as well. Like that's another thing. Your life purpose also evolving sometimes. So now maybe being a photographer means also creating other stuff or working in social media, so obviously it's kind of cool, because if that's my purpose, which I think it is in a part of myself, it's good because I know it will always be changing as well, but also I can always go back to the simplest form of it. But that's kind of good. And I think I always felt like that was my purpose, like do something creative with photography, with image, and I still I can confirm that it still is. When I'm doubted a bit of things, when I maybe take a photo that I like, it kind of feels like, like that place. And like, okay, that's my purpose. That's one of my purpose for sure. And then I think, as we were speaking before, as I was growing older, I definitely feel like, I really want to do something more helping other people, because I feel like in any way that could be that I'm still figuring out what we were talking before, but I think that thing of knowing knowing like my privilege and like from that place helping others that they don't have, I think that's something that I find it is important for me. I don't know which direction we'll take. Right? Maybe in 5 years I'm gonna be like, who knows what, lost in the jungle, and suddenly you're like a text like, once a year, like, Claire, I'm fine. You're like, bitch, like we're recording the episode remotely. It's like, oh, no connection, Claire's gonna be like, fuck my life. What is this? Just to kind of wrap up the episode, because I think it's getting like a bit long now, but can you like maybe tell me something or some stuff that you think are your life purpose, or have you feel, or let's say right now, or maybe, let's say right now, what do you think is your life purpose?
I mean, there's a couple. coincidentally, I also had a reading with a shaman, and because of that, I got that tattoo.
While we are like that, honestly, in the podcast, it's like it hurts. It's like
people are like,
poser. It is what it is, guys. It's just come naturally. That's the truth.
So we can't help it. No, I also had a reading with the same shaman, not just a different one, the same one.
Yeah.
And he told me a lot of different things, but it was like a super like emotional bonding thing for us as well, because he speaks in Spanish, so Enzo was translating it for me. But he also told me that basically one of the most important things for me is to create in some way, like creation, and this moment of my life is big on creation. And that like also like I'm kind of my own worst enemy, because I let like a lot of my insecurities and self-doubt get in the way, and I need to just go for it. And that really stuck with me, because I've had a lot of I can be like super insecure. It's something that I've really tried to overcome with therapy, and I feel like it has often stopped me from like pursuing it's never stopped me from pursuing creative things, because like I wanted to be an actress, for God's sake, and I was an actress, so can't be like that insecure. It's always been there, but sometimes there are certain things. So I got this tattoo to remind me to create. To create in some way. That's in however, same as you, like however that looks. It used to be like me being an actress. Now I love working with video, and I love photography as well. If that's doing my makeup, or I don't know, like helping someone pick out an outfit, redesigning like where all the furniture is in my house. It doesn't really matter, but
it kind of makes sense about what they were saying here. Kind of like when you do something, if you're doing like very aware of it, and it's kind of like being aware of what you're doing and feeling what you're doing, is kind of makes you that purpose as well, because you're doing. It's kind of like a conscious thing of always. For you creating in whatever shape it is, even your makeup, and like think about it. Like when you think about like, oh, I did my makeup and I love it, and then you kind of like link that to like, oh, because it's creation, it kind of like clicks, and it's kind of like the reformation of your purpose. I feel.
I think that is that will be creation, and also something that I think has developed for me recently this year, I would say, is about like being a good, like a kind of like a good friend, or being there in like a very present way for everybody in my life. Like I really want to be like actually listening to what people are telling me, or like if somebody needs advice, I want to be trying to like actually like give the best version of myself. And if I can't, then being okay with like this isn't the best time, but I will be that. Like I just want to be like present for everybody that I love. I would say that will be another purpose.
I think our purposes are quite similar. I think that's why we're friends.
I think that too.
Because I feel the same. Like it's about creation, most of it, and then the other part is kind of like for others. I feel like in this case, I just describe friends. Like when I feel I'm giving the best to my friends, it makes me feel really good, and it's kind of like something that for me is it gives meaning to what I do here in life.
Definitely,
that's like. A way to put it, and I think that's something that always change or like always evolve. So I don't know, very interesting.
Cute, love. What a cute topic.
I'm glad you like it. So well, guys, thank you very much. Thank you, Claire, to share with me your thoughts.
Please drop your life purpose. I'm sure not everyone will be like, I absolutely won't. Please fuck off.
But it will be interesting. Like,
I would love to know.
Especially, if you have a life purpose that changed drastically, I think it will be interesting to hear. Like, my life purpose was, I don't know, build stuff, and now I hate buildings. You know what I mean? Like something like change, but it doesn't have to be that dramatic. But like it would be interesting to know like and why. So you can share that with us. That would be really great.
Well, guys, thank you so much for listening, and we will see you soon.
Well, in a bit. So thank you, guys. Bye bye. See ya.